Most brides-to-be probably worry about, will they look fat in their dress, or will my fiancé shove cake in my face? I had to worry about whether or not my fiancé was going to be able to show up, or if he would still be locked up. He got out of jail the week of our wedding, thank God. I am affected by the actions of the family court systems every day. I see it in the heaviness in my husband's demeanor, the way he conducts himself. He wants nothing more than to see his children more. He's allowed, even using the word allowed is ridiculous because they're his kids. He gets to see them something like 30% of the time. It's easy to see how much this hurts him and how much this hurts us because he's been fighting this for years and he's been fighting for shared parenting like 50-50 time. And he's not trying to be greedy and ask for full custody. He's not trying to hurt his ex because we believe that the children need both parents, and he respects this value enough to want her to see the kids too. And the kids want to see him more. And it's not like he's abusive. And I would not make a lifelong commitment to a man who's a monster, like he's been painted. I cannot even describe accurately how hard it is to sit in that courtroom and watch the person that I love the most be berated and made out to be some monster who doesn't care about his children. And all I can do is just sit there and watch, waiting to hear what kind of punishment he was going to receive for the inability to pay an excessive support order, even though he pays about half of it. The punishment is not just with him. It's with anyone who cares about him, his kids, his parents, me. I am pregnant, and I have to now worry about if my husband is even going to be with me when I give birth to our daughter, or if I'm going to have to do it alone. Like, I want to focus on having a baby shower, and, you know, baby things are expensive, and I want to give the kids a sibling that they can love and teach, but instead I have to make a plan B to my birth plan because my husband might not be there from when she's born because he might be locked up. There is a lot of change that needs to be made to the family court system. Material that is outdated, conduct that is unconstitutional, unaccountability. It should never have been more about money than the happiness of the children.
Cheese.
Hey, Alzie.
Smile for
What
me.
word did I teach you today?
Cheese.
Alzie. Say mama.
Cheese.
Mama.
This is my husband, Alex. He is a father, a husband, and United States veteran, graduated college in New York, and came back to his hometown in Canton, Ohio to start a coffee and tea shop, which he still runs. He is active in the community, volunteers, and serves on multiple boards. And until his introduction to the family court system, the only trouble he had been in was a violation for a barking dog. Now, he has been forcibly separated from his children, disallowed contact with them, had all his savings seized by the state, incarcerated, and has had prison hanging over his head since 2011 when the judge's gavel struck and put him more than $10,000 in retroactive arrears. This video is a case in point. And the same injustices that have occurred in my family's life happens to families all over the country, and it needs to stop. The things he and those who have fought alongside him have witnessed and suffered through should not happen anywhere. The current system is fueled by money. Judges, attorneys, guardians, court psychologists all profit from the status quo. The state is financially incentivized by the federal government to declare one parent custodial over the other and impose as high of a support order as possible and enforce the collections mercilessly. What's worse is that the parents are grossly financially incentivized to seek custody. The system views the children as little bags of money. And while the court's mantra was always in the best interest of the children, the court did not even know his children, much less love them the way that he or their mother did. The court uses that vague phrase as a spin to perpetrate the system's destruction of the American family. Now that the winner-loser, supporting parent, dependent parent, adversarial framework is established, parents are led to be ruthless. And really, who can blame them? If the system suggests there needs to be a custodial parent and a non-custodial parent, a parent facing a reality of losing their children will understandably fight hard. And the lack of accountability lets them fight dirty. Alex, among other allegations, was accused of physically abusing his children. His son had to go through repeated inspections and interviews. He had to go through Child Protective Services interviews, and the accusation was used against him in court. Fortunately, he had cameras in his home, and he gave the interviewer all of the footage. The accusation was found unsubstantiated, but the damage was already done. Unsubstantiated accusations are given weight in family court. Unlike the criminal court, where there are rules of evidence and constitutional protections are more respected. It is a common technique in family court because no one is held accountable for filing or asserting the false allegations. The system promotes asserting false allegations about the other parent with impunity for financial reward and out of simple fear of losing your child. Accountability for perjury is, unfortunately, a joke in the family law courtroom, and it's become a place where the truth is given little respect, eroding away the trust our society has in a just rule of law. According to several sources from within the Child Protective Services and the police department, it seems that about half of the allegations about abuse in our area are fabricated, and often it is because of a family law dispute. As you can see here, sometimes allegations take up the majority of a caseworker's workload. Child abuse and spousal abuse are serious issues and need the services designed for them. But, due to the family court system, half of the time of the providers of these services are occupied addressing these false allegations, leaving children and spouses that truly need help without adequate protection. And even though family court has the power to take a parent's money and freedom and children from them, there are no juries. Most of the cases are not publicly accessible, and the law provides too much latitude. This leaves judges with sole decision-making to impose their subjective feelings with extreme consequences to the parties and with little to no oversight and accountability. In setting support amounts, it seems pretty straightforward as the calculation is based on a worksheet. But when the judge decides on what numbers are used in that worksheet, the result is garbage in, garbage out. A man that we are proud to call a friend, John Mutari in New York, had his son Dom largely separated from him and his support order set higher than he could afford. Had his plea for corrections ignored and dismissed, his driver's license revoked, sent to 6 months in jail for violations of that support order. He got out, continued to plea and file for more time with his son and a decrease in the support order. Then he was sent to another 6 months in jail. He went on a hunger strike in jail to protest the injustices that he and his son experienced, was then force-fed in jail, but served more than 100 days on his hunger strike. John has been arrested about 50 times, protesting for equal child custody. He is a compassionate and brave man, and his services for his son and his country have been exceptional. After avoiding jail for the false allegations, Alex has since been sent to jail and still faces more jail time for violating the support order. What number did the judge decide to plug in for him? The highest number on any document around, of course, which was an application for a mortgage that he filed in 2006. The hearing was in 2011. What number did the judge plug in for the mother? 0. Because even though she has a good paying job and full-time hours, because she was on public assistance also, that gave the argument for the judge to impute her income to 0. Additionally, the judge made the order retroactive about a year ago when she had left and abducted the children. Since that ruling, Alex has been fighting and filing for more time with the children and for a support order based on his current actual income, but to no avail. Once the support enforcement agency did lower it to an amount based on his current income, which was reducing it by more than half, then it was disputed and the court raised it back up. The judge even ordered that he pay the bill of the opposing attorney. Dozens of times the mother has violated the court order, but the court does not sanction her. And Alex did not seek to have the mother held in contempt and incarcerated, but from what I know now, even if he would have sought that equitable treatment, he would not have received it. It is common for issues of contempt concerning parenting time to be ignored, while the ones involving money to get you in jail. More importantly, judges can set the amount of contact or custody with your children to whatever they feel like. In my husband's case, the guardian ad litem for the children recommended equal time, and the judge decided against it. He never asked for more than equal time, hoping that the court would value his flexibility and his willingness to compromise, and recognition of the importance of the children having their mother in their life. Not so, the court seems again to reward asking for everything and being viciously adversarial. Some judges have said things like, "I always give the mother full custody because I've never seen a calf following around a bull." Such rationales are enough to take away a parent's children. It's no wonder the American people's trust in their government has eroded. The times Alex is separated from his children are made all the more painful by their inability to contact him when it is their mother's time. They've had their phones thrown away and returned, disallowed any method to email or message him, to the point that his children themselves were coming up with covert ideas to communicate with him when it was not his parenting time. His children want for very little. They each have computers and tablets, phones, bikes, unopened Lego sets, toys galore, instruments, their own rooms, and each enjoy an education at a local $16,000 a year private school. What his children do want for is simply more time with their father and more peace between the parents that they love. Children should not be refused contact with their parents, and legislation should protect that right. You may think that while the latitude that judges have is excessive, that at least it's limited to those family court issues. Unfortunately, it's not. And when others try to bring the family court misconduct to light, judges have used that power to stamp out the sunshine. Dan Brewington, a fellow Ohioan, blogged about the unethical treatment of he and his children in family court. The judge ordered him to take down his blog, and when Dan refused to do so, the judge cut off his visitations with his children. So Dan still refused to take down his blog. That was factual and shining some sunlight on the system. So the judge then filed intimidation charges against him, saying that he was afraid for his life, and Dan was sent to prison. It is accepted, even by those in and benefiting from the system, that the current system is massively flawed. Alienating children from parents is a barbaric act that future generations will view with disgust. Debtors' prisons were already outlawed once, and there is no question that the system will change. There are many movements, heroic individuals, and many states have already initiated changes. The Federal Department of Justice even issued a letter in 2016 noting, "Recent years have seen increased attention on the illegal enforcement of fines and fees. Individuals may confront escalating debt, face repeated unnecessary incarceration for non-payment despite posing no danger to the community, lose their jobs, and become trapped in these cycles of poverty that can be nearly impossible to escape. Furthermore, in addition to being unlawful, to the extent that these practices are geared not toward addressing public safety, but rather toward raising revenue, they cast doubt on the impartiality of the tribunal and erode trust between local governments and their constituents. Be on the right side early, so fewer parents and children have to suffer." What can you do? The necessary legislative change is not complex. I'll review what you can do as a state legislator and as a federal legislator. 1. Spearhead or support a bill establishing a default presumption of shared parenting with an understanding of equal care, equal cost, and establishing the right of a child to contact their parent. If parents know, going into a separation, that they will both get about equal time, and a support order, if any, will be minimal, then you will curtail the adversarial and fearful nature of all separations involving children. 2. Demand the accusations of abuse be taken with the seriousness they deserve. Children and spouses being abused need your support. Do not allow resources intended for them to be hijacked by family court litigants. Require that the accusation of abuse is accompanied by a police report filed by the person alleging the crime. And if the claim or evidence is found to be fabricated, require that the person alleging the abuse stand trial for felony false report to a peace officer. For federal legislators. 1. Repeal the portion of the Bradley Amendment that provides financial incentives for states to mandate a provider-spouse-dependent spouse relationship, which is what incentivizes states to set up support amounts as high as possible and causes the support dollars to be collected viciously. 2. Require no gender-based discriminatory treatment in all courts of law. 3. Ratify the Convention of the Rights of the Child. Every other country in the UN has ratified this treaty. Again, it's just a matter of time until the United States recognizes children's rights. Please move our country forward. John Mutari, Dan Brewington, and many others have been heroic in their patriotism and their love for their children, and they were abused by the system. Alex's case is not unique, and through our work, we hear plenty of stories even more abhorrent than his. You need to change this. You have the power and the duty. Alex is a patriot and a loving parent, but he can't change the system. Please use the power entrusted in you to end this injustice for the preservation of the American family and for the rights of our children.